Namaste Narashingaya Pralalada Ladayani Haranyakasipo Bhakshaya Silatam Kanakalaya Ito Nishinga Parato Nishinga Jito Jito Dimejito Nishinga Behir Nishinga Hidai Nishinga Nishinga Medim Saranam Prapade. So today, every day in Krishna's service is both auspicious and an adventure. I'm thinking about, anyway, I don't want to go too far afield. But there, just like Krishna is full, fuller, and fullest, wrap your mind around that. He's full in Dwarka, fuller in Mathura, and fullest in Vrindavan. So every day in devotional service is auspicious. But there are some days that are most auspicious. And one of those most auspicious days is today, the day of Krishna appearing as a half man, half lion. And I was thinking as a starting point, there's the verse, Paritanaya sadhunam vanasaya chaduskatam dharma samstha panarthaya sambhavame yuge yuge. I'm firing at about 50% here, so. And he gives 3 conditions. Well, look, you could give several conditions, actually. One more, I'm thinking about it. But Krishna comes to this world, that's from the Gita, and Krishna comes to this world to protect his devotees. He comes to annihilate the demons, curb down the miscreants. He comes to establish religion. The principles of Dharma, not just some formulaic religious procedure, but to establish the eternal principles of Dharma. And he comes regularly. Sambhavame yuge yuge. He comes again and again, like waves of the ocean. People say, well, why doesn't God just come down here and straighten it out? Well, he does. He comes all the time, regularly, incarnations, avatars. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, he comes in his personal form, he comes Yuga avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars. So Krishna's doing his part. Where is the loose link? Yeah, we're the loose link. So, but I heard Prabhupada give class on this one time. And he said, actually, these are the 3 reasons: to save the devotees, protect the devotees, to annihilate the miscreants, the duskritinas, to establish the principles of Dharma. And then Prabhupada said, but actually doesn't need to do that. He said, actually, for changing things around, he can shaking things up, you get earthquake or world war or COVID. I mean, Krishna doesn't need to come himself for that. And the devotees have firm faith in Krishna. We'll talk about this later, but they see behind everything the therapeutic, curative hand of the benign Lord. That's a sentence from Srila Prabhupada. It's fantastic. The therapeutic, curative hand of the benign Lord. And as far as the principles of Dharma, the devotees are there, Shastras are there, so many things. So Prabhupada said, so why does Krishna come to this world? And Prabhupada said, just to give the devotees something to talk about. So Krishna performs wonderful activities. They should be amazing. Well, how is that possible? Well, you're not dealing with the president coming in a motorcade and he gets a flat tire and he's late and he has people booing him. We're not talking about that kind of person appearing, or the queen comes with her ladies in waiting and gets a pie in the face. We're not talking about that kind of appearance of some special personality. When Krishna comes, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. It should be amazing. If it's not amazing, like who is it? The yogi comes and says he's Bhagavan, he makes a little ash, but then, or a little jewel, a little, not even real diamond, a little plastic jewel with his picture in it, and he's Bhagavan, he's the Supreme Lord. Then Prabhupada says, but then he has to go to the dentist because he has a toothache. So we're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, coming himself in his... So, now Krishna annihilates, curbs down, and his Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivers the miscreants and delivers the devotees, protects the devotees. Well, that means God is playing favoritism. Is that a fact? Does anyone know what the analogy Prabhupada gives of two different, other than Dravida? We know Dravida could sit here and give a better class, so you're out of the ball game. Let the kids play. Who knows an analogy? What are two living entities related to another living entity? And one is terrified and the other feels the loving embrace. Come on, Jamal. Cat. Defend your answer. You're right. You see the little mother holding the little kitten in her mouth. And what is the little kitten doing quite often? Purring. Completely feeling shelter and protection. Now the same teeth, the same mouth, Freudian slip there, the same cat, how does the mouse feel? Death personified. So the cat's not different. It's how the mouse or the kitten are related to it. So how we relate to Krishna determines how we experience Krishna's presence. Just like if you're in danger and the police come, the householder who has the police come because he called them feels very grateful to see the flashing blue light and the policeman, and the robber's trying to he's trying to make it over the back fence as fast as he can. So, but we're going to focus today. We'll do some ground basic principles first, but I want to focus on this establishing the principles of Dharma. And I'm not going to talk in a grand sweep about Dharma for the world, but it's going to be localized for each one of us within our heart, how that happens, how we... there it is. So that's where we're going to go ultimately, but we're going to get started. So just for those of us online, Krishna, what is it? Ishopanishad, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasisyate. Somebody can count it up for me later on, but how many Purnas are in there? Purnam means Krishna's full. So we tend to see the world in a binary way, black or white, full or empty, right or wrong. But Krishna's Purnam, he's complete. He is the smallest, and he is the biggest. And you have and I'm not picking on the Christians. There's many good things we can learn from the Christians, so don't get your knickers in a knot. But I'm looking for something here. Anyway, don't worry about it. We have the verse in the Bible. I think it's the Old Testament. And God is a pretty scary guy. I am a wrathful and vengeful God. He's smoting and smiting, and people are always being smitten and turned into stone and salt, and all kinds of colorful things are happening. And that's a fact. God has an awesome power. And he's not one to be trifled with. At the same time, in order to be complete, and of course they say Jesus, Son of Man, because they're so desperate for mercy. Some softness from God. They're praying to the Mother Mary, or they're praying to Jesus, because, we all need a break. So, but Krishna is full. He's Purnam. If God is the absolute truth. By definition, if one's a little thoughtful, he has to be Purnam. So he has to be the most awesome, terrifying, powerful presence imaginable, beyond imagination. We had a nice class this morning by Vijay Prabhu, and he was reading it towards the end of how Lord Nrsingadev appeared. And if Prahlad was, this is in the Padma Purana, and anyway, it's a long story. Bhakti Charamaharshi was explaining, if Prahlad is 1 foot tall, when Lord Nrsinga comes out and he's fighting, he would have been 120 feet tall at different stages, fighting with Lord Nrsingadev, fighting with Hiranyakasipu and all his enemies. So just Prahlad 1 foot, 120 feet. Just imagine his mane of fire, so many arms. I mean, just... you were saying that Hiranyakasipu had his eyes closed. He was in terror. Children will do that. Rabbits, when they're caught in the headlights of a car, it's a natural instinct. You just freeze and close your eyes because you have no other alternative. So, should be the most awesome, terrifying, unimaginable presence. Okay, but to be Purnam, to be complete, full, what should God also be? You can jump in. Should be the most sweetest, kindest. We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who takes no offense. You have beautiful Shyamasundar, Krishna is the cowherd boy. There's that thief, a simple thief, but he heard some katha that how Mother Yasoda dresses Krishna. And so he comes all the way to Vrindavan, and he's so sincere, he wants to steal all of Krishna's jewels. And Krishna appears before him, beautifully festooned in invaluable jewelry. And he says, "Give me your jewelry." And Krishna responds, "Oh no, my mother will be very upset," this whole conversation. So we have beautiful, Krishna's completely controlled. He lets the cowherd boys ride on his shoulder. So many things. So Krishna's both the sweetest, gentlest, kindest, and he's also the most ferocious. And even in Lord Nrsingadev, you find, to annihilate the demons and protect the devotees, with Prahlad, he's completely gentle. There's, after the killing of Lord Nrsingadev, and I'm sorry to be graphic, but there it is, after the brief surgical operation, which the patient did not survive, when Hiranyakasipu was bifurcated by the sharp nails of Lord Nrsingadev, there was blood all over the place. And Lord Nrsingadev went to bathe in a place in Mayapur called Nrshingapole. It's a beautiful kund. And as people are, happy people are inclined to do, what do you often do when you're in a big lake with the same kind of pastime as going on in the Narendra Sarovar in Chaitanya Charitamrita? They had a water fight. And Prahlad and Lord Nrsingadev were on one side, and all the demigods were on the other side, and they had a big fight, splashing water on each other. Of course, Lord Nrsingadev has his unlimited hands, so I imagine he won, but sometimes Krishna lets his devotees win. And this way he was completely washed off. So you have gentle Lord Nrsingadev sporting with his devotees, and you have him as terror personified. So this is Purnam. This is a complete understanding of God. It's not just an ATM machine, God give me this, God give me that, or a wrathful, vengeful person you really wouldn't want to meet at a dark night. For extra points, because there will be, sorry for you there on the internet, hopefully you cook some nice food stuff and offer it to Lord Nrsingadev at your home. But the devotees have been fasting all day, and there's a nice prasadam feast ready for the devotees. So for extra bonus points, who knows what the word other than Dravida? We'll let you in every third one. Otherwise, you'll just, So who knows what no story, no pastime, no leela is complete without a great villain. I mean, I used to like to read Shakespeare before I became a devotee, and there's always some, Richard III or whatever it is. There's always some, first-class demon. So, father of Hamlet, there's always somebody. So who knows the demon in this story, the archetype villain, was Hiranyakasipu. So who knows what Hiranya means? He's got two names, two parts of his name, Hiranyakasipu. So what does Hiranya mean? Gold. And what does Kasipu mean? Nice, soft bed. Prabhupada says, for sleeping very comfortably and relaxing and reclining, and for dallying with the ladies, and a big pile of gold. He's the archetype materialist. And his plan was he was successful in controlling the universe by all the devas who were in charge of all the different forces. That's a whole other class, but in charge of the water and the wind and the fire and all the natural forces, he controlled them. Oh, that's a nice, Greek mythology. What's it got to do with us? Well, what is the goal of the physicists and the chemists? What is their plan? What is their premise? Everything can be broken down into small pieces that we can ultimately understand and control. Ultimately, everything's controlled by laws of chemistry and physics. And once we figure them all out, we can just pull the levers and manipulate the whole thing and control the universe. And look at all the progress we've made. Of course, how's COVID working out on that? And no one stopped birth, death, disease, old age. No one's, we could take the time off but to tell a Sariputta joke, but some other time. But the point is, the real problems are over here, the big four. And they're just shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic over here and saying, well, we made a new formation and ship's sailing longer than it was before, but it's still sinking. So he was not successful ultimately, and he had a plan. From Lord Brahma, people are always trying to cheat God. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, good luck with that, of gamblers I'm the cheat. Prabhupada said, I was sitting in the room, I have my plan, you have your plan, and Krishna has his plan. Guess whose plan wins? I mean, we can, and it doesn't mean, Prabhupada said, devotees are not fools. We've got God-given intelligence. But in the ultimate issue, just like we'll get there in a second. But ultimately, Krishna's plans prevail. So, but the archetype materialists, they're always trying to figure out their own way to cheat. I saw a cartoon someone sent me. And a man dies. And he's just a nasty guy, trips, old ladies, kicks dogs, steals out of the church box. And he dies. And sure enough, he's going to the light. And he's thinking, he's chortling to himself, ha, 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 those fools, all those pious deeds and restraint from sinful actions. And here I am, I'm going to the light. Pfft, turns out it's a bug light, and he's zapped, and he comes back as a mosquito. Devil's there reading the newspaper, watching him go. So you can't cheat Krishna. So, but he tried, as we all try in our own ways to, I've got my plan, I got my way I'm going to do things, and I'm going to live forever because I'm whatever I'm doing, I'm practicing yoga and I'm on Omega 5 and whatever. Who's the guy? Elon Musk? Is he the Amazon guy? He's Tesla, but I think he was something before that. Anyway, whatever he is, he's going to Mars. And he's not taking you and me with him. So they have all their plans. So, Hiranyakasipu wanted that thing which all people want. He wanted immortality. Lord Brahma said, even I can't do that. He has an incredibly long lifetime, but it goes by very quickly, actually. I can't give you that. So, as a cunning conniver that he was, Hiranyakasipu said, well, all right then, fine. But I don't want to die day or night, inside or outside, by any man or any beast, by nothing living, nothing dead, no weapon. It was one of those contract worked, this clause and therefore whereas in the second sense of the clause of condition 5. He had it all sewed down. So another meaning or another lesson to be learned from the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev is you can have all your plans and I don't need God. And I don't want to go on. I'm thinking of a whole bunch of other things. I want to stay on track here. But in the ultimate issue, we all have to surrender. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, cavil is one of the great teachers in our line. He says, cavil as you will. Cavil means quibble, quarrel, nitpick, niggle, whatever it is. Try to wiggle out of it. Cavil as you will, you must surrender. So Lord Nrsingadev appears just to confirm this point. He's a half man, half lion. Is he a man or a beast? I think you were reading this morning what Hiranyakasipu says, what is this? What in the world is this? And where was he killed? He was on the doorstep. You can't say it's inside or outside. Another condition was not by earth, wind, fire, air, any of the Mahabhutas, the different elements of the material nature. None of those will kill me. He was killed on the lap of the Lord. It's completely transcendental. You can't say it's earth, fire, water, air, ether. He was killed by the nails of nothing by living, nothing living, nothing dead. So the fingernails, are they living or are they dead? It's right there in the cusp. So it went on and on. Every single one of the benedictions, every one of the clauses were kept in place, and still it was in game for Hiranyakasipu. So we can't cheat Krishna. Let's see. And let's measure. This is a great chance to compare and contrast the Bhagavatam, Mahabharata. They do this all the time. It's a good lesson. It creates a picture that sticks in the mind if you can compare and contrast. We have the Kauravas and the Pandavas. I mean, there's Ravana there's so many different, and the Hanuman. There's so many different compare and contrast, and they're great. So here's a compare and contrast. Hiranyakasipu actually controlled the forces of the universe, the material forces. He actually did it. And Prahlad was a young boy. He was 5 years old boy? Yeah, Dhruv was 6, we say, and Prahlad was 5. Anyway, close enough. You little innocent boy. And who won out? The all-powerful Supreme Lord was defeated. Supreme Lord. The all-powerful Hiranyakasipu was completely smashed. And little Prahlad was victorious. So in the end game, in the long run, who was smarter? Hiranyakasipu or Prahlad? Obviously, Prahlad, by just surrendering to Krishna. But let me present another. Okay, there was that, the slaves used to sing Kumbaya, and that they loved to give them, the horrible exploitative plantation owners, they gave them a twisted version of Christianity, that you just suffer now, Jesus suffered, you suffer now, you be a slave, and at the end you'll go to heaven. So, they thought, no more chains, I'll just become a Christian and accept my suffering and go to heaven. It's horribly exploitative. And, most of them didn't buy it. But so it's not a post-dated check. Well, if I just serve Krishna, then I'll go back to Godhead and I'll find out when I die. Well, it's a bit late to change the game then, isn't it? Put all your chips in the wrong bag and, whoa, whoops, nothing. But Prahlad, we can see that even in the most dangerous conditions, again I'm quoting the class this morning, but so many dangerous positions that Prahlad was put in by his horrible father. And not only was he saved from them, but what was his condition? Was he completely in anxiety? Was he just getting on his asbestos suit and, He was completely surrendered to Krishna, and therefore he was fearless. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, everybody wants to be happy. It's the universal common denominator. Even the tiny bug in his own way, Anamoya, Pranamoya, Vijnanamoya, Jnanamoya, Anandamoya. There's different definitions of happiness according to how one identifies himself. But everybody wants it. Anybody here not want to become happy? Do we have any closet masochists who want to out themselves? We have an Oprah moment here. Everybody wants to become happy. So Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, news you can use, the essential basic truth. It's not just sentiment. It's the last thing it is sentiment. If you want to become happy, what do you need? It's a sequential. It's a progression. You need peace. Okay, fine. How do I get peace? Anyone know how you get peace? Got to have controlled senses. Okay, fine. What is this? Like the mountains, every time you go over a range, there's a new range. So, okay, fine. If I want happiness, which we all want, I got to become peaceful. Okay. Well, how do I become peaceful? You got to control your senses. Okay, well, how do I control my senses? What do you need? You need a steady mind. Okay. Now, how do I get a steady mind? You got to have transcendental intelligence. Well, what the hey does that mean? Your consciousness has to be fixed in the Supreme. You have to know that behind everything is the benign, curative, therapeutic hand of the Lord. Then you're like Prahlad, and you are peaceful in every situation. So Prahlad won in the long game, and he won in the short game. And Hiranyakasipu was wrong in the short game, because he was always in anxiety and fearful and in anxiety, and he also was really wrong in the long game. Prabhupada gives an example. That's a very exalted state. And Prabhupada gives an example of sometimes Prabhupada would give flashes into his own consciousness. We're not on that level. We're not fools and, that, we'll just go out on the street without a seatbelt. And that's not what we're talking about here. But Prabhupada said when he was in Calcutta, and the Japanese, actually it was Subhash Chandra Nathaji coming up from Burma, and they were shelling Calcutta. The bombs were coming, crashing. Anyone know what Prabhupada was doing when they started bombing? Prabhupada said he was making nice khichdi and puris. And Prabhupada thought, well, where am I going to run to? They're bombing the whole city. His family, he'd already gotten his family. Some people had left the city, but Prabhupada, they had his business and so many things, so Prabhupada didn't leave. And Prabhupada said, well, if the bombs come, here comes Krishna. He was seeing like that, and therefore he was completely fearless. So we know that another lesson of this pastime is even great devotees suffer. If you look at it quite often, the Pandavas, Kunti Dev, Dhruva Maharaj, we don't have time to go down the list. Devotees struggle and suffer. They tell me, I don't know if it's true, but Michelangelo would look, if you've ever, we're not going Renaissance artwork on you, but, if you look at La Pieta, that's when the Virgin Mary is holding the body of Jesus, or you look at David, or, whatever those things are, there's so many statues by him. And they're lifelike. They just look, I mean, the face of the Virgin, whatever, I don't want to spend time on it, but they are just stunning. And they said that he'd get a big block of that pure white marble, Italian marble, and he'd just be looking at it, and he'd be looking at it and looking at it. And I remembered, I better speed up because I want to read something. I want to read about the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev in Mayapur, as narrated by Janani Vas and Pankajangari. It's a blissful story. So that's how we'll end. So did I bring it over? Well, I'll do the best in my mind. But what was Michelangelo doing? Don't worry, we're going to make a point here. Don't worry, we have it. He said, his friend said, aren't you going to sketch? Because most people will sketch on the, or they'll, they make some sketches and they got a whole plan. He said, what are you doing? He said, you don't have a sketch? He said, no, I can see it. I can see it inside. I'm just figuring out what to remove and how to do it. He saw it. He saw the thing inside, in his mind's eye. And he just like if we saw it, we would just knock a little bit off. If you were a competent sculptor, you could just chip off the pieces that you don't need, and well, lo and behold, you like cleaning off a diamond. You just clean off the mud, and there's the diamond. So we are all pure spirit soul. We are Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. We're full of knowledge. We're full of bliss. We're full of satisfaction. What is one of the symptoms of a Vaishnava? Is he thinking how to get mine and keep it? What is a Vaishnava thinking? What, other than Dravida, what is the nature of a Vaishnava heart? I got more and I'm getting more. Compassion. A Vaishnava is thinking, Prahlad Maharaj says, my problems are solved. For me, I don't need anything. I'm just thinking about these poor people who are just banging their head against the wall. What to speak of? I heard one of my neighbors say, an old person without money is pitiful. To go into old age with no money and no family. Do not go gently into that long good night, but rage, rage, rage against the dimming of the light. It's that fool Dylan Thomas, died of alcoholism. Getting old and enfeebled, and it's horrible. But that's not us. And we shouldn't be locked into that. So Krishna, what is the curative, therapeutic hand of the Supreme Lord. The devotees suffer, and it's Krishna chipping away all the unnecessary attachments, all the fears, proving that he's actually there. All of that pettiness and foolishness and bodily attachment and envy and anger and all the baggage we carry around with us. Somebody sent me a cartoon, and if you're out there, I'm grateful. Keep them coming. There's a lady, she's lying on the couch, for the psychoanalysis, they're reading, with therapy, right? And the psychiatrist says, we're going to have to take some past life regressions. You couldn't get this messed up in just one life. We carry around so much baggage, fear and anxiety. And Krishna has to get in there like a good doctor. He just gets in there like Michelangelo. Well, not like Michelangelo, but the ultimate Michelangelo. And he's chiseling and chipping it away so our real self, Satchidananda Vigraha, can come out. So we see that and another reason these Mahajans suffer, these great souls, is to set an example for us. That we see, oh man, what I went through was nothing next to Prahlad, and look at the lessons. What can I learn from it? So I was saying that the core theme, hey, we're right on time. The core theme I wanted to get to was this establishing of Dharma, principles of Dharma. And in this particular case, it has many ways it can be applied. But we're talking about establishing those principles in each and every one of our hearts, my own heart, I'm talking about, each and every one of us. There's the old saying, we found the enemy, and the enemy is us. You ever heard that? Yeah, I think it comes from Bogle. We found the enemy, and the enemy is us. The problems, it's not others. It's not the circumstances. It's not God. The enemy is in the core of our heart. And I'm going to end with a prayer when we get there, by Prahlad Maharaj. The core, the enemy, is in our own heart. It's all the anartas. So one aspect of this is Krishna gives all intelligence, all guidance. Sarvasya chaham hridisani visto matasmiti jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna gives all intelligence, remembrance, forgetfulness, everything from within the heart. Now, if we want Krishna to give us that intelligence to sit in our heart, what did Jesus say? Accurately, of course. Blessed are the pure of heart, for... Anyone remember their Bible study? Okay, that's the ultimate thing. But blessed are the pure of heart. This is another sutra. It's, from the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God. Now, let's graph that as a simple equation. If you're pure of heart equals what? What's the other side? You will see God. If you're pure of heart equals you will see God. Now they call what's a converse. This is simple algebra, sorry to take you down. But if you put a factor on one side and you put the same factor on the other side of the equation will still balance. So if you're not pure of heart, what happens to the other side of the equation? You will not see God. It's as simple as that. So, and where does Krishna like to come? Where do we like to come? Suppose I invited saintly Dravida over to my house. Now, I'm making some nice prasadam. Please come. And I know some things that Dravida Prabhu likes, so if I had the time, I make some nice prasadam and Dravida Prabhu comes over, thinking, let me try to deliver this fallen, bewildered GBC sannyasi. Let me give him some association. So Dravida Prabhu comes over, and I open the door, and I show Dravida's sitting place, and it's a pile of rotten garbage. Flies buzzing around, bad smell. Is he going to want to sit down? He's a nice person, but he'll say, he's thanks, but no thanks. He's a Brahmin, he's a sadhu. So if we want Krishna to sit in our heart, what has to be the nature of our heart? It has to be free from all the nasty anartas within our heart. There's that fantastic section in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when they're cleaning the Gundicha temple. And Srila Prabhupada, adds his own realizations, but the foundation are the purports by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur about how cleansing the temple, cleansing our heart. And if we want the deity Krishna to sit within our heart, that temple, the heart has to be clean. So if we want to establish Dharma within our heart has to become clean. The other aspect of that, well, that's the purport I wanted to read. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, it's not always easy. But another aspect of the pure heart is to let Krishna do his work and to cooperate. Yeyatam mam prapajante. As they surrender, I reciprocate. We are in a partnership. It is not a one-on-one, zap me and I've been saved, or whatever it is. I just follow whoever it is, and I'll get the 7 versions, or when I get to heaven, going to see them pearly gates, or I'm a Hindu and I performed all the functions, or whatever it is. It's got nothing to do with it. It's helpful. It's like varnashram. It's the necessary support system that allows the seed of pure devotion. You need fertile ground. But it's just the fertile ground. Without the seed, it's not going to bear any fruit for you, any real fruit. So we have to be, in addition to understanding the goal to purify the heart, to establish pure Dharma within the heart, what do we have to be? Well, I almost said it. Is it a static process? Does it happen by osmosis? Other than Dravida? No, obviously not. Malati Devi told me, it's in a great short sutra. Prabhupada's coming out of a pandal tent in South India. I don't know the year, I don't know when. But anyway, so Prabhupada's coming out of Prabhupada gives one of those wonderful lectures, 15,000 people, and he's got them bouncing off the wall in ecstasy, and, like bowling for bozos. They ask their questions, Prabhupada just smack, one of those fantastic lectures. So Prabhupada's walking out of the tent to get in his car, big, giant pandal tent. And a man literally grabbed Prabhupada's feet, was holding on to them, and said, "Swami, Swami, save me." Does anyone know? Did Prabhupada zap him? Did Prabhupada give him a bolt of lightning? Or who was that hugging Ma? Give him a hug. I tell you right now, she's hugging you, but with the other hands. I think she's passed away now. But give a hug, and with the other hand, they're picking your pocket. That's what she's got her hands behind your back, lifting your wallet. But and yes, I said it. So what did Prabhupada do? Other than Dravida, anyone know? What did Prabhupada tell the men? Save me, Swami. Prabhupada said, yes, exactly. Prabhupada said, yes, I can do it, but you must do the work. So, and I'm certainly speaking to myself, the success is guaranteed. Behind our difficulties, we will struggle. But we are under devotees, one who surrenders to Krishna, just like Prahlad was under the protection of Nrsimha. This is my wind up in the pitch, so we're going to end here. But just as Prahlad was under the full divine shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev, who defeated the most powerful atheist, materialist in the world, we are also under that divine prakriti. But we have to wake up that divine therapeutic hand of the Lord, and the struggling and suffering, we have to see it as Prabhupada saw it. We have to see, here is Krishna. What is Krishna doing? What anartha is Krishna trying to chip away? How is he helping me? So that is the mood of Prahlad, one of the moods of Prahlad. And it brings one not only back home, back to Godhead in the end, but in this life, in any condition, one is peaceful and happy and thinking about the welfare of others. So we can end there. I'll read these prayers, because they're just sweet benedictions. And then I'll briefly describe the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. Because Lord Nrsimhadev's mystic power, it's not that, that happened in the past, show me now, What do they say? What have you done for me lately? So this is from the 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse 8 of the Bhagavatam. And just to make it succinct, this is Prahlad Maharaj, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimha, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires, not our external adversaries. That is a given, but our demon-like desires within the heart. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. That's the bottom line. We're all the protum and otum, the warp and woof of perennial angst. It's quietly, existential angst is quietly bubbling under the surface of every living entity in this world. And there is no solution, except, as it says here, that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. And one last, I know what I'm doing, one line here. This is a benediction on all of us by by Prahlad. This is also from the 5th canto, chapter 18, text 9. May the entire universe be blessed with peace and hope. This is what it means. Prabhupada was on a radio show in Los Angeles, 1970, in L.A. We were all listening on the radio. It was like listening to the Muhammad Ali, because he was Cassius Clay, fight with Sonny Liston on the radio. And Prabhupada just knocked this guy out. So the man said, he got so exasperated, he said, well, what would happen if everyone became Krishna conscious? Prabhupada said, don't worry, there'll always be fools like you who won't. When Prabhupada got home, Prabhupada got back to the temple, we all waited up. It was about 11 o'clock at night. And Prabhupada came back. And before he took rest, and we all took rest, Prabhupada said, I can speak like this, but not you. Prabhupada said it is a special dispensation of old men and little children. They can go anywhere and say anything. So Prabhupada was so pure, and obviously, I saw it so many times, it's a whole class, we don't have time to get into it, but people sensed that Prabhupada really cared about them. And therefore, he got right in there and did heavy surgery. I've saw it multiple times. Reporters who just, they just wanted to check the box and get the story, or, whoever they were, And Prabhupada Prabhupada got right in there and did surgery on their heart to their eternal betterment. So, where were we? I'll just read it again without interruption. May the entire universe be blessed with peace and hope. My point is, this is what it means to be Krishna conscious, this verse. What if the whole world becomes Krishna conscious? Well, Prabhupada said even 10% becomes Krishna conscious. And certainly we can become Krishna conscious individually in whatever our expanded circle. So here's what it means. May the entire universe be blessed with peace and hope. May everyone driven by envy and enmity be pacified and reconciled. May all living beings become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. May our own hearts and minds be filled with purity and serenity. So we can pray like this, think like this, at least remember some of this. These auspicious days are portals. They are channels. It's a time that the mercy of the Lord completely opens and falls on us. And similarly, our prayers have a special, expedited special delivery service. So we should take advantage of these auspicious days, especially Lunar Shringadev. Okay, there we are. Now, just to finish with some fun, and I guess Dainit is ready. I'm not supposed to keep going until he's set up, am I? You want to sit back there and just make sure that I'm not supposed to, because, I don't know how long I'm going to last here. So, Lord Nrsingadev is ISKCON's Ishtadev. We all have our own Ishtadevs, who's in the core of our heart. What deity form, and, for some devotees it's Radha Govinda, for some, and in New York, somehow the Radhikiri Hari haven't thrown me away. But around the world, all of ISKCON, we have our Radha Madhava, and we have our Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev is the Adi Nrsingadev, and he's giving protection to all of our movement. So the seed for the idea of installing Lord Nrsingadev came that the Mayapur temple was attacked by some dacoits. It's a whole pastime. Wonderful, amazing thing. But they thought, well, because back in history, devotees were being harassed in Mayapur by dacoits, people coming out on the road, and temples were being plundered. And in consultation with Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur installed a Nrsinga deity at Nrsiнгapole there in Mayapur. I mentioned where Lord Nrsingadev in the water fight. At one time, the deity was stolen Now Bengal, you've all heard Bengal tigers. This is in the 30s. There were so many tigers. Someone stole the deity thinking they would hold him for ransom, and tigers attacked him and ate him. And devotees got the deity back. So there it is. They're not vegetarian. So just as under the advice, guidance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur installed a Nrsimha deity. And there's another Nrsimha deity right in back of at the Yog Pit. There's a beautiful Nrsimha deity for protecting the Dham. So the devotees in Mayapur had the same idea. Let's install a Lord Nrsimhadev. So what form of Lord Nrsimhadev? He comes as Lakshmi Nrsimha, Prahlad Nrsimha. A number of devotees had the same dream and saw the same form, Ugra Nrsimha. There's a mantra sannyasis pray, and I won't say the thing, but there's one, it's Ugra Nrsimha, and he's terrifying Nrsimha, and the next line is Bhadra, all auspicious. So terrifying, all auspicious, Ugra Nrsimha. This is Lord Nrsimha in the mood when he's jumping out of the pillar. He is righteous anger personified. So, and he can only be worshipped by lifelong brahmacharis. So anyway, they all had the same vision, and they made a composite sketch, and they went to the best carver. He's carved out of black granite. When you get the best black granite, it's coming from South India. And the best carvers are there. So they went to South India, the best of the best carvers. And they showed him the picture. And he said, no way, I am not carving this deity, no way. And he began to narrate. The last, move quickly, please. No, that didn't work out. I think he had a big lunch. The last time a Lord Nrsimhadev deity like this was installed and not worshipped properly, the whole village became overwhelmed with pestilence. And to this day, the village is a ghost town. You do not mess around with Ugra Nrsimha. And if you carve an Ugra Nrsimhadev deity and the worship is not done properly, the reaction falls on you, the carver, your family. It is serious stuff. So no, he wouldn't do it. Devotees asked around, nobody would do it. So devotees went back to Mayapur. What can we do? We'll have to figure something else out. Where to make the deity. I don't know the time. I'm imagining months, couple months. They got a message from that same carver. My Gurudev appeared to me in the dream and said, you are right not to carve this deity, but for ISKCON, you can do it. So he said, I'll do it. And now you have to find the right stone, right granite. It has to be living granite. Living granite means that you tap it with a special stone in 7 different places, and it makes a particular sound in each place. So that our Lord Nrsimhadev had those qualifications. Living also means there's a particular type of bug, minuscule bug, that eats through stone. And this stone has to have a mark where it's been drilled by that type of bug. It means it's a living stone. So that was there also. And the devotees had just described that they wanted Ugra Nrsimha the size like that, But they hadn't shown him a sketch. So when he said he would do it and that he'd found the stone, the devotees came down. When the devotees came down, I forget what was in South India. When the devotees came down, hey, talk but quietly. When the devotees, we're almost done. When the devotees came down, the carver pulled out his drawer and said, this is the sketch that came to me in a dream that my Guru Dev said, carve him like this. When he pulled open the drawer, the devotees were going to show him their sketch, exact same sketch. So he began carving this and that. For a long time, he sat there. The devotees would come and meditate, come and, when are you going to get going? Come on, we need, He just sat, and he was just meditating on how to do it in prayers and so many. And then finally, when he went at it, he just non-stop began carving and carving and carving. Now, he had the deity out in a woodshed, not a woodshed, but, a working shed, a workman's shed, out, a big shed. And that's where he had all his tools, and that's where the deity was. And when the deity was finished, he was going to call the devotees in Mayapur. But, he wanted to go to a wedding. Somebody's always marrying somebody in India. So, they had to go to a wedding. He said, well, I'll call him in 2 weeks. All of a sudden, clouds came. It's pouring. That Indian monsoon rain. It's just pouring rain. In the monsoon downpour, poof, the whole shed caught on fire, burnt to ash. Lord Nrsingadev is standing there alone in the rain. He went to the phone, called the devotees. He wants to come, and he wants to come now. And he's so big and so heavy, they put him on a flatbed truck. He's on a flatbed truck, and they fill it with sand. And then you put him on his back. He's sitting like he's on his back in sand, and then you cover with auspicious things, and then you put a tarp on top. And to go from where it was in South India, they had to go through Tamil Nadu, and then you've got to go through Karnataka, and then you've got to go through Andhra Pradesh, and then you've got to go through Orissa, and then you've got to come into Bengal. And the devotees, when they do traveling Sankirtan, to go across the border with anything, India, it's a big chance for bribery, and every form has to be done in 13 duplicates, and it can be a 2-week, 3-week journey just to go through the different state borders. Lord Nrsingadev, like a hot knife through butter. They'd see ISKCON devotees, they'd see a big truck, they thought, payday. They'd pull back I forget who was used to be in Mayapur, Nakadundubi. And Nakadundubi told me, they'd pull back the tarp, remove the, neem and all the different auspicious things, and there be Lord Nrsingadev like he was jumping out of okay. They put everything back. Go. So they made it in 3 days. So we'll end there because of the time factor, but there we could give a whole class just on the pastimes of Lord Nrsingadev to this day in Mayapur. So Lord Nrsingadev, and all over the world, anyone who's been a devotee long enough can tell stories about how Lord Nrsingadev has directly intervened and saved their life. So let us pray to Lord Nrsingadev, and not just, like Ganesh, clear the path so everything goes smoothly for me. But let us pray, let him clean all the anarthas out of my heart. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.